We're trying to record our podcast. Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the A to Z Movie Show. I'm Charlie Zizza, your average moviegoer.
My name is AJ Beltis. I'm your aspiring movie critic. And today, we've got a pretty solid episode for you guys. We're taking a break from our normal format and instead taking a look back at what worked and what didn't work in the year 2017. But before we get into that, we want to make sure that you guys are following along with us on social and email because we're about to give you guys our top 10s, or respective top 10 for AJ, top 5 for Charlie. We're sure that this is going to be a pretty divisive discussion, so if you have anything you want to say to us, you can hit us up on various social media and email methods of communication.
That's
Charlie,
right.
What is the best way to get in touch with us?
The best way, my preferred method of contact is by email.
I'm sorry, is it 1998? Or?
Well, see, I work in an office, so I check my email.
Ah, okay.
I don't go on Twitter. But you can email us at atozmovieshow@gmail.com, or you can tweet at us at atozmovieshow. And we're also on Facebook, which I think is also at A to Z Movie Show.
So that all said, guys, we're relatively new at this whole podcasting for movies thing, so we missed a lot of movies. I'm going to actually ramble off a list before I get started on my top 10 of the movies that I did unfortunately not get to see in 2017.
Are you going to list ones that you just didn't see, or ones that you didn't see but want to see? Because I have a list of ones that I didn't see but want to see, but there are some on there I didn't see but don't care about.
So, for example, I don't really... I'll say Thor Ragnarok isn't on my list. I didn't see it, but I also didn't really want to see it. But that was a movie that did really well this year and made some people's best of and favorites list of the year, so unfortunately that won't be included on mine. Aside from Thor Ragnarok, Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle, I heard was a really great... nostalgic but not too nostalgic romp, so I didn't unfortunately see that one, but it's definitely on my list. All the Money in the World and Molly's Game, both nominated for Oscars. I unfortunately did not see either of those, and Wonder is also nominated for Oscar, as well as Roman J. Israel Esquire and Coco, and Victoria and Abdul, and all of those were nominated for some sort of Academy Award this year. Sadly, I did not get to see any of those movies. The Greatest Showman was nominated for a couple Golden Globes, and The Killing of a Sacred Deer. So a couple big movies that I unfortunately did not get the chance to see, but those are the movies that I wish that I had seen so I could make more informed decisions, but sadly they didn't make the cut for me this year just because I haven't seen them.
I haven't heard of many or most of those movies, I'd say. I also have a list of movies that I didn't see in 2017 but kind of wanted to go see. I think you've seen all of these except for one. War for the Planet of the Apes. Mm-hmm. I was surprised about the good things I heard about that movie. I didn't expect it to be good. I'm a little bit surprised that it got pretty good reviews, so I will probably go see it at some point. Mm-hmm.
But make sure you watch the first two first, otherwise it won't make much sense. Yeah.
Okay. The next one is, and I'm not excuse me if I butcher this name here, Oakjaw?
I didn't see that one either.
The one about the mythical elephant hippo thing. I actually heard it's pretty good. It looks kind of childish and silly to me, but yeah, I mean, it looks interesting. It's on Netflix. I can go see it anytime, so maybe I will. The next one is A Ghost Story. I think you watched that this weekend, AJ.
Yep.
And you said you liked it?
Pretty close to my top 10. Did not make my top 10, but it was definitely up there for me.
Okay. It looks interesting. It looks pretty unique.
It is. It's very unique.
Yeah, so and you said that's on Amazon Prime?
Amazon Prime, yeah.
Yeah,
so check
which
that
I
out
have, so I'll probably go watch that at some point as well. Lady Bird, I've heard you talk a lot about. Don't know much about it, but if you talk about it as much as you have, it's probably not bad. Baby Driver, heard good things about that. And then Dunkirk, definitely want to see that at some point. It looks very good.
All right. I think I saw almost all of those. And there are a couple of my top 10 that I'm realizing that you have definitely not seen. So I'll try to keep the discussion on those minimum so we can kind of talk about the movies that we've seen together. That said, Charlie has not seen enough good movies this year to make a solid top 10 list. So that's why he's
going to... That's not true. I just haven't seen enough. If I saw 15, 20 movies, then I'd make a top 10 list. But I've only seen, maybe 11 or 12, so I'm not going to make a top 10 list.
I got you.
That's pointless.
So before I do my 6 through 10, and then we work together to get through our top 5, I forgot to ask you the most important question, Charlie. What?
What are you drinking, Adrian?
All right, I guess I'll go first. I'm drinking a export stout from London. It's from the Colonel Brewery in London. One of those other ones that I picked up during my trip abroad. It's good. It's pretty simple. All that's in it is water, hops, sugar, yeast, and barley. And you gotta love those European stouts.
Very
How about
cool.
you, Charlie?
That's very interesting. I'm drinking a nice Boston Lager from Sam Adams.
Good choice.
One of my least favorite beers ever, but it's the
What?
only thing I had in the fridge. So
It's I think they make some good seasonal beers. I like their winter selection that comes out. They have like a box of like 6 different kinds of winter beers.
yeah, you know what it is though? They just don't sell that. They have good beer, but they don't sell it in the store.
What are you talking about? Of course they do.
No, they don't. The good stuff they don't sell, at least not widely. You know, Boston Lager they sell. I can't stand that. It's terrible. But they do have good beer. I don't like what they sell widely in the stores, but whatever. That's what I have for tonight. So
All right, we have killed plenty of time, so I'm going to go ahead and do my 6 through 10, starting with 10, work my way down to 6. And feel free to comment on these. So my number 10 was a movie that, as of about an hour ago, was not in my top 10, but I took a step back and started really thinking about what movies would be in my top 10, like what makes them unique, what makes them watchable, and sadly I had to kick John Wick Chapter 2 out of the top 10 for this, which I really enjoyed, and I thought this movie didn't have the absolute best story, but every other aspect, from the acting to the visuals and the production design, the production values, the sheer enjoyable simplicity of it, the more I think back on it, the more I think about classic movies, and that this could have very easily been made a silent movie in black and white if the effects weren't a problem. And so I'm going with The Shape of Water for my number 10 choice.
okay, that's not out of the question.
Yeah, it was dancing around like 11 to 13 up until about an hour ago, but I really feel confident in my decision that I think this is one of the better movies of the
You
year.
didn't watch it again, did you?
No, just once. So that's my top 10. That's my number 10.
What made you change your mind?
So I was torn between The Shape of Water, John Wick Chapter 2, Life, and Lady Bird. Those in order are my 10 through 13.
Really? I thought Lady Bird would have been higher up.
No,
You talked a lot about it.
Lady Bird, just because it's been getting a lot of attention, I think Lady Bird is a great movie. I very much enjoyed the first half. That said, I think there's a second part of the movie where she starts dating a different character it sort of falls apart for me. I don't think the characters are as strong. I think it's a little bit fast and loose. And I think it's a good screenplay, but I don't think it's executed perfectly. So I think it's very well intentioned, and there's a lot to enjoy and appreciate, but overall it's not one of my personal top 10 movies of the year.
Okay.
That said, almost every girl who I've talked to who has seen this movie has said it spoke to me. It's a perfect representation of me and my mother. So I think for girls around this age, it definitely has something very important to say, because it's coming from a very personal side of Greta Gerwig, who wrote and directed it.
Well, I'm interested to see what movies you knocked off the list besides Life and what was the other one?
Lady Bird and John Wick Chapter 2. But I'm going to stop there and say those were some of my bigger movies that did not make my top 10, but I really loved a lot. Number 9 is a movie that definitely stayed with me. It's a movie that it rests very squarely on the shoulders and the performances. It's a solid screenplay. It's a very subtle movie. And it was written and directed by Taylor Sheridan, who has been getting a lot of attention lately from Sicario and Hell or High Water. And this movie is Wind River, and it's another one that you haven't seen, Charlie, but it's a very subtle movie, like I said, and it's about this Native American woman who is raped and killed on a reservation in Wyoming. And it's about Jeremy Renner, who plays a tracker, and Elizabeth Olsen, who is an FBI agent, and they work together to find out who killed her and who's responsible for her death. I like the way that the mystery plays out in this. I like the way that they kind of weave through suspects, and I like the way that they kind of tie in a bigger story about here, and Jeremy Renner's character, and I think Elizabeth Olsen gives one of her best performances to date. So, definitely check this movie out. It's out on DVD right now, and I'm hoping that it'll be on free streaming soon. You can pay for it on Amazon Prime if you want, but I think it'll make its way into some sort of freer streaming website soon. So definitely check out Wind River, my number 9. So my number 8 is called Detroit. So Detroit is based on the 1967 events that happened when the black community was definitely starting to feel very persecuted by the police force. And it's something that's very sad, but you still see a lot of this today. I thought that it was very tense, very timely. I don't think it was too political. I think there was an opportunity for them to be extremely political about the subject matter because it is so relevant today. And I think Catherine Bigelow did a very respectable job of portraying what happened without ramming it down your throat. And that said, really tense situation. What happens is a white cop, shoots a black man in a house after thinking that they have guns. and he basically holds this group of people in a hotel up and doesn't let them leave and says, we're not leaving until you all kind of agree that I didn't do this and that it was an accident. It's really intense. It's
sounds really cool, actually.
Yeah, really intense, based on a true story. There's a lot of legality to it. There's a great courtroom aspect to it. Jim from The Office makes a surprise appearance. So it was one of the more underrated movies of the year, I think. It actually came out during the summer, and this is not a summer box office movie by any stretch.
Yeah, I haven't heard anybody else talk about that movie, but the concept behind it sounds really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really layered. It's really deep. I think it has a very solid screenplay. It's probably my personal favorite Catherine Bigelow movie to date, because I was not a big fan of Hurt Locker, Zero Dark 30. So Detroit gets my number 8 spot. Number 7 for me was a movie that I didn't really expect much going into. I didn't really know what to expect, but overall the editing and the performances and the humor and the tragedy behind this movie really solidified its spot on my top 10, and that's I, Tonya.
Okay, you didn't expect much going into it?
Yeah, I just thought it was going to be just a movie. I didn't realize it was going to be so solid. I didn't expect to see a technical achievement that was behind this film. I didn't expect the content to really resonate with me. I didn't expect them to be as raw as they were with this character and this real life subject matter. So I don't know if that's in your top 5 or not. You don't have to spoil it, but
I didn't have any of. My expectations were basically what you came out of the movie thinking, and that's kind of what I got. I got the opposite. Like, I didn't expect much from it. Like, I didn't care that much about the figure skating and all that. Yeah, I mean, I expected more going into it than I got out.
So I guess that's a situation of great or less expectations. Yeah, I, Tonya, number 7 on my list. Number 6, I'm sorry, I'm going to piss you off with this one. It's a movie that I think changed the franchise, in my opinion, for the better, and that's Star Wars Episode 7, The Last Jedi. Good humor, good action.
Good humor.
I thought the humor was good.
Good humor, as in the lines were terribly delivered, so it was funny.
Amazing, right? Amazing special effects, amazing cinematography, amazing production design, and I wish there were some things that I wish they'd done differently. But overall, I thought this movie was so much fun. I thought it was great entertainment. I thought they pushed a lot of boundaries, and I appreciate and respect what Rian Johnson really did with this movie. So, Star Wars Episode 7, number 6 for my year. Now we're going to make our way into our 5 through 1, and because I've just been talking for the past 8 minutes straight, Charlie, what is your number 5 movie of 2018?
How do you want to do this? Do you want me to do my number 5, then you do your number 5, and we can go on like that? Alright, that sounds good. I like that. So, my number 5 is a movie that I didn't even remember was even in 2017, because it was so early in 2017. It's been a very long year, or it was a very long year last year. But that said, I was really surprised at how good this movie was. I walked into the theater thinking that was a really, really entertaining movie, and I know you know what I'm talking about.
I don't actually.
You don't?
No.
Really? Okay. So I've seen a lot of movies in this genre. Genre's not even the right word. Like the subgenre, the topic, and this is one of my favorites, if not my favorite. You're gonna probably disagree with me on that one aspect, but my number 5 is the movie Life.
Okay.
It's another space survival movie, but it's really unique. There's a new twist on it. It has this level of realism. I mean, you can't say realism because nothing like this has happened in real life, but it's what you would maybe expect it to really happen in a space survival movie, 100 years from now.
Yeah.
And I really, really appreciated that aspect of it. It's not too sci-fi. It's more like sci.
Yeah. I think anyone who has seen Alien would be lying to themselves. They didn't see the absolute references and almost repetitive storylines to it. That said, I felt more like it was an homage to it as opposed to a ripoff of it. So I agree with you. Life was a great movie.
If you have an alien taking over a spaceship, there are going to be times when it feels like Alien.
Yeah. But I agree with you. I think Life is a great movie. I'm actually surprised that you put that so low. I expected that to be in your top 3.
No, I've seen a lot of great movies this year. The fact that it even made it to my top 5, I think is pretty good.
Okay.
It's a entertainment value, maybe not a whole lot of artsy depth to it. So I think number 5 is a good spot for it.
Yeah.
What's your 5?
My number 5 is probably one of the most intelligent war movies ever made, and that's Dunkirk. It's a movie that I know, again, you haven't seen, but it's worth seeing alone for 2 main reasons. Number 1 is the technical achievement that is this film. Every bullet makes an impact with its sound. The way that they're able to just use camera angles and sound editing and cinematography to their advantage is just so worth seeing. And on top of that, I would say the score is very intense, and this movie is not told very much through dialogue. It's told through film editing and story structure, and you're following things through, faces and emotions and actions as opposed to dialogue. And it's clever to see it done that way. So that's one reason to go see it. And the second reason is just from like I said, the film editing. It's told through 3 different perspectives, 3 different non-linear story pieces that all converge together towards probably the third act of the runtime.
Is it like the people on the beach, the people in Britain, and Germans?
Close. It's the people on the beach. It's the people from Britain who take boats, and then it's people who are in the air. So the air story covers 1 hour of storyline. The boat storyline takes place over 1 day, and the beach storyline takes place over 1 week. So to have all those sort of intermingle, you have one character before he goes missing in one storyline shows up in another storyline. So it's a little confusing, but it's fun to put together while also learning more about the Dunkirk invasion, which as an American, I feel like we don't really know much about.
Yeah, I mean, I think we just know the general idea of it. Mm-hmm. So very cool. I'll have to check that out. I mean, you can't have a war movie, a good war movie, without great editing. Yeah, it's one of those things. So.
Mm-hmm. Number 4, Charlie.
Let's see. My number 4, Phantom Thread.
Wow!
Why are you saying wow?
I'm shocked to have you say that so high.
Why?
You
didn't think it was going to make my top 5 at all?
Not really.
Okay, well, it did.
Okay.
Number 4, Phantom Thread. I think to enjoy this movie, you definitely have to be in the intended audience of the filmmakers. It's not for everybody.
It's not. It's
you
really
not. Have to, and maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, I wouldn't have liked this movie. I would have thought it's stupid. It's too over the top with the artsy. But if you really give it a chance, you focus on it. You see some great acting. You see a lot of great dialogue. And yeah, I mean that's all I really have to say about the movie. It's you gotta be in the mood for it. But if you are, it's a very good film.
I'm going to go for my number 4 for a movie that you can be in a bad mood, good mood, sleepy mood, an awake mood, whatever mood you're in, this movie is going to make you feel awesome and so glad that you watched it. And that's Baby Driver. I'm looking at, I'd say maybe one other movie in my top 5 that I haven't gotten to yet. This is probably the most entertaining movie of the year.
What?
And I know you haven't seen Baby Driver.
I haven't, but I'm surprised.
The reason I say that is because it is just so much fun. It's action-packed. All the performances, including Kevin Spacey, are really, really good. You have Edgar Wright directing this movie, who just knows how to bring out the talent in every single one of his actors and actresses. On top of that, you have, again, just like Dunkirk, one of the most unique approaches to making and sounding out a film, and having all of these action scenes portrayed alongside a song. And it's just a perfectly choreographed, and not in a musical way, not like in a...
What do you mean a song? Like one song?
Well, no. So it's not like Hairspray or Sweeney Todd or anything like that. What happens is, Tequila plays or something like that, and every gunshot, every turn of the wheel is done to the beat of a song.
So it's kind of like an ongoing music video type thing.
Exactly.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Have you seen Shaun of the Dead?
What is it?
Shaun of the Dead.
Shaun of the Dead?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, well, that's another Edgar Wright movie, and you see kind of glimpses of that where they're killing zombies to the sound of, a Queen song.
Do they use good songs in the movie?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I gotta see this.
Yeah,
I love this.
You would love it. But on top of that, it's an action movie, and there's stakes, and it's does the guy get the girl? There's car chases, there's gun battles, there's the good guy versus the bad guy, and it's comedy. And, Ansel Elgort, I think, delivers a very solid performance. Lily James, I think, is great, too. John Hamm is in this movie. Jamie Foxx is in this movie from Django.
How long is this movie?
Less than 2 hours.
All right, I'm going to see this before we record next week, and I'm going to let you guys know what I think.
This
sounds great.
It's out on home video or streaming or whatever
home
it is.
Video.
You guys
what is
watch.
This, 1994? It's coming soon on a cassette near you.
Yeah, I love those videos. So that said, Baby Driver gets my number 4 for both the entertainment aspect. I thought it was super entertaining, but also for the technical side of it. This movie must have been a bitch to make, and boy, did they do a great job, and it looked like they were having fun with it. So Baby Driver, number 4 on my list. Loved it.
All right, that sounds great.
Number 3 for you, Charlie.
Wait, was that number 3 or number 4?
That was my number 4.
Oh, okay.
What's your number
Got
3?
it. My number 3 is going to be Get Out. What? Is that your number 3?
No, that's just way... I don't even want to know what your number 2 and your number 1 are. I thought that was going to be your number 1.
Why would Get Out be my number 1?
All right, continue.
Oh, you know what? I see what you mean. But there's definitely one... Okay, never mind. We can talk about this.
Okay.
Get Out. I heard a lot about this movie before I saw it. You forced me to watch it on a road trip, actually.
I did force you to watch it on a road trip.
I was into it. It sounded good. But I thought it was just going to be kind of a horror movie. Mm-hmm. Like a cheap thriller, lots of pop-outs, cheap scares, whatever. Not that at all. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are a couple pop-ups, things like that, but it's very, very smart. It is scary at some... Well, not scary. Scary is not the right word.
Frightening. Or
yeah,
jump scares.
There are some jump scares,
yeah.
But that's okay. I mean, that's fine. Those are entertaining as long as it's not what's making the movie. But it's really smart. It's really relevant. And there's just a lot of small nuances and details that are just fun to watch unfold. Like the first half hour of the movie, all these subtle little clues as to
you see all
what's
the
going
pieces
on
being laid in place.
Yeah, and it's really cool. So, especially if you watch the movie the second time around, mm-hmm. it makes it even a little bit better. So, I definitely recommend anybody who hasn't seen it to go see the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I'm not going to say anything more, but I'm going to go on to my number 3. And that is a movie that I know you haven't seen this one either, but my number 3 of the year is Gifted. I think this would probably be, if anyone who took themselves seriously in film or film criticism saw my top 10 list this year, I think that Gifted being in the top 10 would probably be the most controversial choice, because I think this movie is so clearly on the line of a Lifetime movie. I think if they had made 1 or 2 bigger decisions differently, this could have been a made-for-TV Lifetime movie.
So you're saying that the story, the concept of the movie is not that
the
great,
concept
but they made it
just
good?
Yeah, the concept is just super bland. It's about a girl who's good at math. Her uncle's raising her, and the grandmother wants to come in and raise her to make sure that she goes to a really nice school and gets a great education. The uncle says no, she's going to have a normal life. She's going to do Girl Scouts. She's like 6 years old. She's not going to be a child prodigy. But they're able to take it so much deeper, and you deal with a lot of these things like alcoholism and depressions in there, and being forced to do your best in familial relationships, and it's the emotions that this movie could make me feel, knowing full well that it was this concept that's so basic. I credit so much to the screenwriters. I credit so much to the performers. McKenna Grace, who played young Tanya Harding in I, Tonya, plays the lead actress, the young character in this movie. She's doing a great job. Has a lot of heart, has good humor, and the fact that it is able to take this very simple concept of a film and turn it into something that's deep and rich and has so much to say. And again, one wrong move and this could have very easily been a gimme, maybe rent it if you want to, but not really. But it doesn't escape at any convenient opportunity. It really keeps pushing the boundaries of what a movie of this concept can do, and I thought it was fantastic. So Gifted is my number 3. Again, pretty controversial, but I think it's worth checking out for sure.
Okay.
All right, Charlie, please give us your number 2 movie of 2017.
My number 2 movie. This is the movie that I thought that you would think would maybe be my number 1 movie of the year.
I have a guess, but I'm going to tell it to you after you tell me.
I think you probably know it is. Did not have any expectations or knowledge of this movie before I saw it.
Nope, it's not the movie I think it is. I already know it's not. I was going to say, well, go ahead.
Forget it. Yeah. I was borderline blown away by this movie. It was so entertaining and so funny.
See, now I want to know what your number 1 is.
And so cool. You're going to be disappointed by my number.
But your number 2 is The Disaster Artist, I'm assuming.
That's correct.
Yes.
Disaster Artist. Great movie. I recommend it to everybody. People who have never seen The Room, don't know anything about it,
you've never
like
seen
myself,
The Room.
exactly. But like to be entertained, I recommend this movie to them. it was going to be my number one movie of the year just because it's so entertaining, but there's also more to it, The characters are relatable, even though we're not all aspiring movie stars, although maybe we are in some way, but, you can relate to the characters. You can understand where they're coming from. You want them to succeed. You don't want them to fall. You want their relationships to work out. It's just a great movie. So, yeah, I do recommend it to everybody. If they ask me a good movie to see, or if they asked me a good movie to see a month ago or 2 months ago, I would have told them The Disaster Artist. Go see it. You'll love it.
I do love that movie. It's definitely up there for me, but it is sadly not in my top 10.
Oh,
but
you're killing me.
I can see why you put it there because it's fun. I thought the acting was great. I think there's something in here for people like you said who have never seen The Room. Seeing Tommy go off on his auditions, and
you know what it is?
It's just funny.
Who doesn't love a quotable movie?
What are your quotes for this movie?
Well, I'm not going to try to do them because I can't do voices very well. But there are some really good quotes, and I guess that makes it tough because you can't really do his voice. But I mean, any movie where you can go hang out with your friends and something will remind you of that, and you can quote the movie, and people will know what you're talking about. They might laugh at it. That's great. That makes for a great film.
All right. For my number 2, I'm going with a movie that I think fired on all cylinders. It was dramatic. It was funny. It was... Yeah, I made that.
What were you going to do with this?
I don't know. I was just remembering that scene from South Park where they made the future telling device.
So, audience listeners, AJ here apparently made one of those... I don't even know what they're called.
Cootie catchers.
Is that what they're called?
Yeah.
I've heard them called different things.
Fortune tellers.
Those little triangular things where you flip them back and forth.
If you've seen the South Park episode about margarine...
No. If you went to elementary school... you know what these are. You flip it open, and then you pick the next one, and you go back and do it again. AJ, who's 23 years old, made this on his weekend.
This is why you don't leave me alone in the apartment. I'll just drink beer and do stuff like that this afternoon.
Okay. AJ, what is your number 2 movie for 2017?
My number 2, as I was saying before, I was so rudely questioned on my maturity, is a film that fires on all cylinders. This movie is terrifying. This movie is dramatic. This movie is hysterical. It's well written. It's well acted. It's well edited. There are amazing effects, sound, performances. Everything about this movie works. And I'm giving this movie the number 2 spot. That movie is Get Out. So pretty close to your list on the top movies of the year. Get Out just barely missed the cut for me, just because, in short, I think sometimes the humor didn't work for me all the time. But overall, this movie is fantastic. I have never been in a movie theater ever where the crowd has been so responsive to a film, where there were literally audible claps, cheering, laugh. It was insane. I have never been to a movie and experienced this ever. Everything about this movie was great. The writing is great. The directing is great. Both of those from debut writer-director in movies, Jordan Peele, who was nominated, just won the Writers Guild of America. I'm going to make a sneaky prediction and say that Get Out might win Best Picture this year.
Really?
And the reason I say that is because, we had 3 billboards as kind of the front runner, but then that didn't get a Best Director nomination, and so that kind of puts it out. Shape of Water it got a couple nominations.
That would kill me if Shape of Water got it.
But I feel like that's also losing steam. And then Get Out just won Best Writing at the Writers Guild of America Awards.
Okay.
And I might have to double check this, but to my knowledge, The Shape of Water was not nominated for Best Cast at the Screen Actors Guild Awards. I'm going to double check that. But
it would honestly kill me if The Shape of Water won it because, there are some good elements of it. From a technical standpoint, and I guess from an acting standpoint as well. But it's just such a boring movie.
See, here's the thing. A movie has not won Best Picture without being nominated for Best Cast at the Screen Actors Guild Awards since 1995 when Braveheart came out. And also, one movie in the past, 30... This is a conversation for the Oscar episode we'll have, but only one movie in the past 25 to 30 years has won Best Picture without being nominated for Best Director, and that was Argo and Driving Miss Daisy back in the 80s. So the only movie now that was nominated for Best Cast and is nominated for Best Director at the Oscars is Get Out. Mm-hmm. So, sneaky prediction, I think, especially with movies like Phantom Thread sneaking in there, getting that last-minute push, might take away votes from movies like Shape of Water, 3 Billboards, Lady Bird.
That's a good point.
I really do think that... Oh, you know what? I apologize. Lady Bird was also nominated for Best Cast and Best Director, so that has a chance as well.
Normally I would be surprised if Get Out or a movie like Get Out won, but...
It was just so well received by audiences, too.
People loved it.
Yeah. Loved this movie, and critics loved this movie. It was one of the most well-received movies of the year by everyone, and that's why I really loved this movie. Charlie, I think I already know the answer to this one, and it's going to tick me off if it is what I think it is. But please tell us, what is your number one movie of 2018?
All right. Like I said, this was a tough choice for me. It pains me a little bit to choose the movie that I'm about to choose for number one for 2017.
Pains me too, because I think I know what it is.
And it's not because it's the most entertaining movie of the year. I didn't enjoy it more than all the other movies I saw this year, not by a long shot. But for a number of reasons, I'm going to pick this as what I see as objectively the best movie of 2017. Now, that said, I wasn't a huge fan of the movies I saw this year, so take it as you will. But my number one pick, I think, addresses an important topic in today's culture and society, globally, and in the United States as well. And it does it in a way that's, I think, realistic and also very relatable to the general audience, even if it isn't something that is directly relatable. And you'll know what I mean when I say which movie I'm picking, which I'll say right now. My number one pick for 2017 is Call Me By Your Name.
Oh, God.
What?
This literally didn't even crack my top 20.
Why not?
Because I think there were at least 20 better movies than this year. I mean, Call Me By Your Name was a good movie, and I'm sorry to ruin it.
I think it was a very good movie.
It was a very good movie. I think in hindsight, I was a little bit too harsh on it.
I don't think 2017 was a great year for movies, so...
We'll talk about that.
Not to say that it was bad, but I don't think it was stellar.
I still think this was significantly better than 2016. But I will let you finish.
I would probably agree with that, based on... I think we had this discussion before, and I wasn't really sure, and I went back and looked at the 2016 movies, and I would agree that 2017 is better than 2016 for movies.
I'll let you finish,
but that doesn't mean it was
great. You've got more to say about Call Me By Your Name.
Not a ton more. The acting was very good. It had to be for the movie that we have here. It's basically a love story between two people, and a very tough setting, I want to say, and that's just because of the age difference that we see, and the social dynamics with the family, and it's a very isolated movie. So this all takes place where it's out of the public eye, and this is the 1980s. So, and that's part of the reason why you can see this relationship unfold in the way that it does. And one thing that really stands out to me, actually, is the very ending of the movie. I know we talked about this when we reviewed the movie. The actor who played the younger guy,
Elio, and he's played by Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah, he did an amazing job, and the editors too, I suppose, did a really, really good job in that final scene. It wasn't even really a scene; it was kind of the start of the credits. That really drove home for me the relationship that developed between these two characters, and helped me walk away from that movie with a really good. Not a really good feeling, because it wasn't a good feeling, but a very positive outlook on this movie.
Yeah, I mean, that last scene was great. I'm not saying that this was the only great scene in the movie, but... And I've said this before, but one good scene does not a good movie make. So, I mean... No,
that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying...
It packaged it well to kind of send it off, and you said a positive way.
It represents how good the acting is throughout, and it's more of a more pronounced visualization of the good acting than other scenes, but the other scenes had really great acting too. It wasn't necessarily as flamboyant as the rest, as that scene, because it didn't need to be.
So, I mean, I agree with you. I think it's a fantastic movie. Definitely not near the very top of my year's list. What I would argue, though, and I've said this on the podcast a couple times, that Armie Hammer should have been nominated for Best Supporting Actor. That was a real snub in my eyes, and again, maybe not the best movie of the year for me personally, but that was one of the better performances. So,
Yeah, and I just want to, as we have said before, I didn't see a ton of movies in 2017. I saw, again, not my favorite movie of all time by any means at all, but I do think that it at least deserves a top spot for 2017. You can debate whether or not the first spot, but I think it's very good.
If that's what you feel, then that's what you feel.
All right. And AJ, what is your favorite movie or your top pick for 2017?
So, Charlie, I think you know what my number one is, and this is a movie that I have raved about. This is a movie that, unfortunately, you have not seen, and I've been reviewing...
I don't know what it is, because there are a bunch that you rave about that I haven't seen.
Well, here's your biggest hint. I've been reviewing movies since 2012 on, not a professional basis, but a more formal basis. And 2012, 13, 14... This is the fourth year out of the 6 years that I've been reviewing movies that I have a coming-of-age film as the number one movie of the year. And, this is probably a stretch to say it's a coming-of-age film. It's a movie about childhood, but it's just as equally a movie about poverty. It's a movie about bad parenting. It's a movie about the raw nature of life that the other half lives. And that movie is The Florida Project. And that is my number one movie of 2017. I was actually watching a visual essay by the YouTube visual essay maker named Nerdwriter, and I highly recommend his stuff for those of you who are listening who are really into visual essays.
I
you
like
probably
him.
know about him.
He's pretty good.
My caveat is
He's
don't...
very serious, though.
Yeah, but don't watch his visual essay on the Florida Project until you've seen it, because they spoil a couple big moments that take an hour of exposition and storytelling to kind of appreciate, and he kind of gets right to them in the first couple minutes. So watch the Florida Project, and it's a movie that some people have told me that they didn't really love their first time just because of its approach and its nature, and I can understand that it's a very unique film, and you might not understand it your first time, especially if you are more of an average moviegoer. But watch that movie and then watch Nerdwriter 1's take on why that should have been nominated for Best Picture, and you will, I think, hopefully see it in a new light. And it pointed out a lot of other things for me too. So one not spoiler aspect of the film that he highlights is it's kind of common knowledge that the film is told through the perspective of these kids. The focus, however, is more so about what's going on around them, and the cinematography focuses on the children's face and instead kind of puts it, like in the Peanuts and the Charlie Brown cartoons where you just see like the bodies of the parents and never their faces, never their heads.
Yeah.
A lot, not all of them. You definitely see the mother, but if you do, it's usually like from the kid's angle looking up at the mother, or it's looking with a shot at the children with their parents kind of like torsos and legs. So it takes great care to shoot this film through the child's perspective, and it's just really it's sad and depressing because you're looking at it and seeing, wow, there's this 6-year-old kid who is in one of literally the worst situations to grow up in this country, in this day and age in America, and she doesn't even notice it. But that brings a lot of joy and lightheartedness, and it's this weird dynamic of being in the most wonderful and adventurous time of your life, but also being in one of the worst economic and social classes that you can ever, unfortunately, find yourself to be in. And the Florida Project pulls this dynamic off so perfectly that I really hope that everyone sees and is able to appreciate this movie. So again, I loved 2017 a lot more than 2016. I think there were a bunch of movies that I named earlier in the episode that I think had a shot of making my top 10 if they premiered last year. This year was just a pretty solid year for movies, so kudos to everybody who made a movie in 2017. That said, Shaun Baker with The Florida Project, you took my number one spot. Congratulations on a job well done.
Well, I'm sure he appreciates your congratulations.
I hope he does, because you know what? His movies are all about the little things in life. And if a 23-year-old aspiring podcaster can appreciate his movies, I hope that he can take that.
That is the epitome of a little thing.
I really hope that he finds the joy in me giving kudos to his wonderful film that even I'm not able to appreciate to its fullest extent. I think there's so much more going on here that I can't wait. I just bought this on Amazon, and I'm waiting for the Blu-ray to come in a couple days, and I'm just going to be so excited to revisit this and see what else I can pick up on in this viewing, and then the next viewing, and then the next viewing. I love those movies that Get Out for me was one of those movies. The movie that you're like, I loved this, and I can't wait to go back and see something new the next time I go back and watch it. It's enticing, it's inviting, but it's so wonderfully made. So, yeah, Florida Project, my number one movie of 2017.
Have you already seen it more than one time?
I have not, sadly.
Oh, that means we have lots of additional viewings going on in this
Absolutely.
apartment, I'm sure.
I don't even know how many times I've seen Boyhood or Mud. I mean, those are...
Or the way, way back.
Or the way, way back. And I've got a fun story about that for our Oscar episode, which we'll be recording in a couple weeks. But, yeah, the way, way back's a good one, too.
You do like your coming-of-age movies.
I do love my coming-of-age movies. All right, Charlie. So that wraps it up for our top 5 and 10 movies of 2017. But, as we both know, with everything good usually comes something bad. And so I'm wondering, do you have any dishonorable mentions that you would like to give a negative shout out to?
I have a few
this year.
And this contributes to the cause of Call Me By Your Name being my number 1 pick. And Life being my number 5 pick, which, don't get me wrong, was a very good movie, but for it to be my number 5 pick,
I'm still really surprised. That's really... When you walked out of that movie, I thought that was going to be in your top 3.
I loved it, but for it to be for the whole year the number 5 pick, just traditional
specifically for
space survival. I mean, we've already talked about it. So
I want to say specifically
anymore,
for now that I know your whole top 5, specifically that Call Me By Your Name, Phantom Thread, and Get Out all beat Life in the top 5. Yeah. That surprises me for you.
I do have to go back and see the movie again because it came out
in April, so it's been almost a year.
Yeah, April. Really, I thought it was earlier than that. Yeah, so it's been a while. I do want to go back and see it, but anyway, I digress. That's not what we're talking about right now. The dishonorable mentions, or as I want to say, the bad of 2017. I'll just fire them off, I guess. Number 1. They're not in any particular order, but the first one I have here is The Last Jedi.
Wrong.
I don't care what anyone thinks.
To quote
it is a terrible movie.
Wrong.
And luckily I have half of the people who have seen the movie on my side, more or less.
That is correct, but you're all still wrong.
Next up, Wonder Woman. I just don't get it. I don't get the hype. You know, it wasn't bad, but it also wasn't good.
I'm with you on that.
And it was hugely popular and got great reviews, maybe not by critics, I don't know if it did or not, but by audiences, they loved it.
I'll say this, here's a fun fact, and it's not something I agree with, it's just the fact. There is no movie that was released in 2017 that got a better score on Rotten Tomatoes and made more money than Wonder Woman. So that I mean, it goes to show...
Making money to me means nothing,
but
because
it
all
was
the
both.
There were a lot of movies do great.
There were a lot of movies that made more money than Wonder Woman and had better tomato meter scores than Wonder Woman, but it had both. It had the critical success and the audience success.
Yeah, I mean, there might be something to be said for that, but to me, making money, or box office income, revenue, whatever it is, doesn't say much, because... You know, we see the movies that pull in the money. A lot of them are, like, pretty bad. Yeah, bad movies that, you know, people just want to go see. It's something relaxing to do, something fun to do on a summer night or whatever. And that's what pulls in the revenue. So, to me, it doesn't mean much. It never has.
Can I make one more comment on Wonder Woman?
Go for it.
So, I think the one scene that really almost changed my mind on it was the No Man's Land scene, the scene where she's kind of taking the shield and storming the battlefields. That was a really fantastic scene, but again, like I mentioned earlier, that doesn't mean it's a good movie. I thought the third act was abysmal. I thought it was, you know, oh my god, you're the bad guy? What a totally unexpected twist that I could not have seen coming at all. It was really sad that they took a movie that was supposed to be so groundbreaking and revolutionary with its feminist approach and female filmmaker, and take such a classic trope and ham-handedly deliver it to us in that last act. So that was a big disappointment for me. So
yeah, and not to say it's a terrible movie, it wasn't, but
it had its merits. But
yeah,
in my eyes,
I saw it in a drive-in too. So by the time, I think we didn't even watch the last 10 minutes. I think we left to beat the traffic out of there. And we were very ready to go.
You didn't miss anything,
right? No, I knew that. So we were going. Next, Shape of Water.
Oh, Charlie.
And I don't hate this movie. I just don't get why I do get why, but I don't like seeing it get all the award hype that it's getting. The visuals were cool. The acting was good. And that's really all I gotta say for it. The score, I think, was good.
I think this is the pretty clear divide between the aspiring movie critic and the average moviegoer, because I see this movie being shown in film classes in the future. I see this movie kind of being but a sort of example of how to do certain aspects of filming right.
Certain aspects, yes. I don't disagree with you, but it's just not entertaining.
I disagree with that too. I mean, I mentioned this earlier when I talked about it being the number 10 movie on my list, but I think the story, again, was not necessarily compelling, was not groundbreaking, but the story fit the approach they had for the film, if that makes sense.
Sure, but
it didn't make it amazing.
If I can enjoy Phantom Thread and appreciate it for the finer things in movies, but I can't enjoy Shape of Water, there's something a little bit off about Shape of Water. So, anyway, that's just my take on it. Didn't hate it. I appreciate certain aspects of it, but I would not go see it again anytime soon. My next one is It. I know you have strong feelings about this one. I don't have strong feelings about it. I just didn't like it.
I've got a love-hate relationship with this movie, but tell me why you didn't like it.
I thought that the approach that they took to try to make it scary was the wrong one. It wasn't scary because I was afraid of fundamentally of what this clown is, which is kind of... I didn't read the book. I only saw parts of the original, quote, movie. But my take on it was that the clown is scary because of what it was, not because of it can pop up and eat you or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever it does to kill you.
Pennywise is the representation of it, which is supposed to be the most terrifying thing you can ever imagine. And I agree with that. Yeah, it really did a poor job of displaying the horror of this entity.
I mean, as simply as the clown, Pennywise, which is what it's showing as most of the movie, just isn't physically as scary as the first one. Yes, it's more advanced, but it's also more CG, and
the CG is my least favorite part of this movie. The CG and I think the way that they treated the kids and made them kind of like break up and fight.
I'll let you go on your little rant here about it because I know you're very passionate about this one. So go ahead. So take it away.
Oh, we can have a full episode about my qualms.
Yeah,
with
let's not though.
But what I will say is the first time I watched this, I was thoroughly disappointed. I would even borderline say it was a bad movie. I've watched it twice since then, and my opinion has changed overall. I do think that the use of CGI was bad. I do think that they should have treated the kids better. I think that there were some real legitimate problems with the screenplay, and I hate to be this guy, but I do think they deviated from the source material a little bit too strongly. Usually I would say that the books don't matter, but again, you've got Stephen King writing this, and instead you make the kids fight and then get back together to bring their friendship strong again so they can unite against the bad thing. That was straight out of the 1994 version of Little Rascals. You had the template of Stephen King and you rip off Little Rascals, and that really, really frustrated me. But I thought, I like the coming of age aspect of this. Again, AJ, coming of age, yes. And the comedy worked. I thought it was a funny movie. But again, it's not supposed to be a straight-up comedy. It's okay if there's comedic elements, but this is supposed to be a horror film, and they should have had more horrifying elements to it. What else is on your list?
There's something to be said for movies that have teenagers or adolescents as the main characters, because we all remember those days and how everything just seemed like a much bigger deal. Everything was much more interesting and fascinating than it is now.
That's why they always top my list. That's why they always top my list.
I see what you mean. I always like it when the plot focuses around teenagers or young people who are not soul sucked by the sad truths of life. And the last one I have here is Beauty and the Beast. I'm just sick of these remakes. There was no reason why Beauty and the Beast had to be remade. Didn't have to be live action. I mean, it had Emma Watson.
But it's Emma Watson.
I love Emma Watson.
Totally need to be remade because Emma Watson was in it.
But that's valuable time Emma Watson could be in something that I want to see.
That's true.
So, yeah.
She was in my number one movie of 2012, Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Oh, that was a good one.
It's a great one. So I will share one in common with you. I didn't like Beauty and the Beast this year. I thought I would. I was in that play in 6th grade, but no, I was not a fan of Beauty and the Beast. I thought it was, again, very unnecessary, and it's okay. I look back at like The Jungle Book, and they took an animated Disney movie into a live action atmosphere and made so many changes that you're like, yes, this is new, this is updated, the effects are incredible. The approach to this movie really justified it being remade, and I'm on board with this.
What are some of the other Disney ones that have been remade recently?
Well, they're about to remake Lion King. They remade Cinderella.
Lion King could be interesting. That's
they might
a great
remake
movie.
It wasn't Disney that did it, but they did remake Tarzan, and that was a bust. But that was not a Disney production.
Okay.
So we'll see how the Lion King turns out. It's got the creative team behind Jungle Book, so I want to trust them on this because Jon Favreau, I think, is an amazing
That'll
director.
be an interesting one because I think people really like Lion King more than they like Jungle Book, the original.
Yeah, but that's the bad part is Jungle Book, they didn't have anything they were really held to except those songs and the characters.
Yeah,
they could take it in a totally new direction.
You could piss people off.
Yeah, Lion King you could if you go in that same creative
there's
license
also
angle.
But you also could go maybe a darker route.
Yeah,
change the story up a little bit.
I would love to see that.
Yeah, it could be cool. So we'll see what happens. But all right, guys.
Well, I got one more bad movie I want to mention.
Oh, okay.
And again, I had very few bad movies this year. Because again, Charlie and I, it's tough for us to go out of our way to see bad movies when we have.
I don't think a lot of movies that were just bad. Like I didn't see The Circle or whatever. I knew that was going to be bad. I was going to go see it. Yeah. Transformers. Wasn't there a Pirates one too?
Yeah, I started watching it. I haven't even finished it yet. It's on Netflix.
Exactly.
But the one other movie that wasn't great, I actually did kind of guilty pleasure enjoy it a bit. But 47 Meters Down, I think was. It was actually not a terrible version of what it was, but the one thing I want to call out here is the dialogue just sucked. It's also on Netflix, and if you want to see the worst dialogue possible in a movie about sharks, check out 47 Meters Down. Because
I do.
Again, it's not as bad as you think it is, but the dialogue is laughably bad.
I as much as I appreciate really, really good and clever dialogue, I also appreciate really hilariously bad dialogue.
Watch 47 Meters Down tonight.
Like when, what was that movie we just saw? I think we saw it together. Where I just hated... Cloverfield. Hated the dialogue, but it was kind of...
Yeah.
Actually, that wasn't quite bad enough to make it good. It was distracting. But that's what I'm getting at. So is that it for your bad list?
Yeah, I mean, there were some... I was not impressed by Split. I was not impressed by Free Fire. I didn't really like Kong Skull Island that much. I know those three kind of got some good reviews, so that might be controversial. But everything else I saw this year, I think was good. Even Three Billboards, while I had some pretty solid qualms with it, overall, I think it was a good movie. It was not the best version of what it could have been, but it was a good movie.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, that's where I'm at this year. Good job, 2017. Good movies. I liked them. And we'll have our Oscar episode in a couple weeks, but before that, we will have our Black Panther review coming out for you guys in no time. So make sure you stay tuned for that.
Yes. So that's it for this week, guys. We will see you next week for the review of Black Panther, which we are both very excited about.
Tweet us at A to Z Movie Show. Email us at the A to Z Movie Show at gmail.com.
Correct, yes.
And check us out on Facebook at A to Z Movie Show.
And write us a review, share with your friends. Word of mouth is going to be the most helpful things for us. So if you know any movie buffs or people who like to go to the movies a lot and want to find out about a movie before they go see it, recommend our show. It would be a big help for us.
Yeah, and that said, we, like I just mentioned, we only saw the good, the well-received critically mainstream movies this year. If we missed a movie on our top 5 or top 10 this year, let us know. I mean, we're doing this because we love movies, and we would love to know what you think are the best movies of 2017 so we can expand that list and make sure we're including the best movies on that list. So let us know what we missed. Let us know what you think of our top 5 and top 10, and we'll be sure to give you a shout-out on the next episode.
Yes, and after we do the Oscars episode, we'll start getting into some older movies that aren't in the past couple years or so. Some controversial ones, some interesting ones, some really, really good ones.
Underrated movies
that we really want to talk about.
I
mean, I know I have a bunch that I want to talk about.
Don't give them out yet. Leave them hanging.
Nope. So we'll be getting on those, and should be a good time. That's it for this episode, guys. See you next week.
Bye, guys.